But I remember being in India, being at the ashram, and for instance, like only eating once a day, whereas people were eating 3 times a day. I remember actively not choosing the rice-based dishes and just having more like the fruits when they were available, and then just kind of more of the mucus lean items. So I was already very much kind of conscious of that. And it was also at that point, it was in 2016, that I completely stopped drinking any water. And this is part of the teachings, basically, of the mucus-free concept and the mucus-free lifestyle, which are very heavily based on an understanding, a very deep understanding of how the body works.
Okay.
So that for me was a big lifestyle change that I implemented, and it's one that whenever I start working with new clients, it's one of the number one things that I kind of insist. I say, if you want to work with me, this is something that I'm very strong about, because for me, it made huge difference. Like completely eliminating water and only getting your hydration from fruits and vegetables. And other living waters like coconut water or sugarcane juice. And if you do drink water, maybe like activating it with a little bit of lemon. For me, this made a really big difference, because I was like, I already had some weakness, I guess, in my kidneys, and I could tell this in my eyes by doing an iridology reading. And there's also some kind of kidney weakness in my family, for instance, like my grandma had a lot of kidney stones, and for me, I guess more so than other people, is healing, and it's necessary. You know, for instance, you had a glass of water earlier today, and you know, maybe for your system it works, but for me it really works, and I've seen a lot of clients gain a lot of results from that, because it enables the kidneys to start filtering the lymphatic system and like fully focusing on that. Because if the kidneys are filtering liquids all day long, and we've been deeply conditioned, you know, to drink a lot of water. Even within the fruitarian community and the raw vegan community, there's a lot of water consumption and a lot of, I'm going to say, guzzling of water, right? Because there's a lot of exercise, people are exercising, and there's this whole kind of hydrate. But I came to learn really that plain water doesn't hydrate. It acts more as a solvent, just sort of flushing through the body, flushing out the acidity, but doesn't actually enter the cells to fully hydrate the cells, because a different frequency is required for that. It needs to have information. It needs to be a living, informationally available, kind of structured water. And when people start focusing on structured water, and it certainly worked for me as well, you start really activating this process of filtering the lymphatic system. And you can check your urine, you can see if you're filtering, and for me, it took a little while to start filtering, but once I did start filtering, I started really seeing a lot of changes, just a lot of obstruction being eliminated, a lot of differences and shifts in my consciousness. I really came to see how the more dense the body is, the more dense the thoughts are, therefore making the body less dense, your reality completely shifts vibrationally, you know, energetically. And being on this island, for instance, I've largely been fruitarian because the fruit here is just amazing. So I'd say I eat probably 95% fruit.
Okay.
And the vibration is just so different. It's so much lighter. And the process, I guess, of transitioning, the more gently and gradually it happens, the better. So as you can tell from these discussions we've had, I went for years, you know, experimenting with different diets, eating a vegan diet. The transition diet, you know, of Arnold Ehret, he very much prescribes like a slow removal, one thing, then another, over time. So we're never really shocking the body. We never do anything too extreme. And the body can just slowly start purging.
Sure.
Because if we open the doors too quickly, we can even die, you know, if we create too much detox. So we want to be mindful of that, and we want to do it in the most gentle way, and also in the way that is the least stressful, right? Because if we're trying to heal some adrenal fatigue or some other endocrine imbalance, but we're stressing out the body constantly by doing these things that are supposedly healthy for us, it's kind of a little bit counterintuitive.
Cool. So what would be some of the mistakes that you see people make when they are, I guess you say that you work with people when they're changing, you know, to a vegan, to a raw food, to a fruitarian diet, or even doing fasting? What are the sort of mistakes that you see people make?
I think the word mistake is an interesting one, because I don't fully believe in mistakes, but I fully get what you're saying. I'm not going to bang on for too long, but in a way, no such thing as mistakes. Everything is a lesson, right? But there are definitely things that people do that they think are the right thing to do, but in fact are actually quite damaging to their system, and are probably delaying the healing that they're looking for. I would really say the number one is poor food combining. So it's really, really important that you feed and nourish your body in a way that is in alignment with how the body works. Like if you start feeding a cow the animal remains of other cow friends, they're going to get mad cow disease, right? Because they're eating a very unnatural diet. They want to eat grass. And it's the same with us. If you're going to put loads of junk food and weird food into our bodies, we're going to start malfunctioning. So really, like, food combining is nature's way of going, this is your food, this is your species-specific food, and the more you stray from that, the more dis-ease there is, the more pain, the more suffering, the more death and decay, right? So eating as simply as possible, like educate yourself on how to combine properly so you're not mixing your sugars and your fats, you're keeping your proteins low. That's another really big one. People often eat way too much protein. There's this whole protein myth going on that you need it to be strong, and really it's all about amino acids. Proteins are made of amino acids. Break apart all the amino acids, break apart the proteins into amino acids. That's all the body uses. But the process of breaking down the protein in this way creates all these little acidities and obstructions and leftover kind of toxicity in the body. So that creates a lot of acidity and disease and keeps us stuck in a very low vibration protein. You know, like when I've experimented with protein and I suddenly don't have it for weeks, months, and then I have a protein meal, I feel it afterwards. I feel the density. I feel the impact it's had on my consciousness. We're not meant to consume protein. And another really big one that I see people doing a lot is using toxic products and chemicals on their skin and in their house to clean their house. Laundry liquids, washing up liquids, beauty products, all of these. It's like, it's all well and good changing your diet or trying to be healthier, but the skin's super absorbent, and if you're covering yourself and layering yourself in chemicals, you're basically eating them through your skin. So start using organic products, clean, natural products. Look into using essential oils more rather than buying these things with parabens and all sorts of stuff in them. So that's a really big one. And also just this mindset of like supplementation. That's another really big one. People often look at themselves as like, oh, my body's imbalanced in this way, in this way, in that way. And we're bombarded with all these things like, what about UB12? What about your iron? And then there's all these things that people are afraid that they're not quite got. And it's like this collective wounding of lack mentality that we all share. So it's like, oh, I don't have enough B12. I need to get some B12. And the reality is that supplementation will only add more confusion and more like something even more taxing for the body to have to eliminate. And the reality is that the more we make our diet super simple, the more this biochemical machine cleans itself out and becomes more and more effective. The less we need of anything. The body just is able to function better on less fuel. And you also start craving better and better fuel. Like, I never crave animal products now at all, because the consciousness of my body has completely shifted. I might still crave a falafel, right? But it's nowhere near as dense as a burger. And over time, you become lighter and lighter. And the concept of like putting all these things inside you because you fear that you lack something, when in fact you have everything here, is just a case of stop putting things in. Stop bombarding your mind with all of this brainwashing from society and like this media that's very violent and convincing us to lead these really unnatural lives. And a lot of when people kind of fall off the wagon or they go back to eating a animal product diet or whatever it is, it's because they haven't fully understood how the body works, and they've made a few mistakes in the application of the principles, and because they haven't fully surrendered to the system, they don't trust the system yet, they're still in fear. They're like, well, I haven't had the results I wanted, and I'm afraid right now, so I'm going to go back to what's comfortable and familiar. And a lot of people are falling prey to that. It's one of these sad realities, I suppose, but it's part of the journey, it's part of the awakening. It's kind of like these different waves of people discovering the process and then discovering it again.
So what are your kind of plans? You seem really super passionate about all this. Are you looking to, and I know you're already helping people with this, what are your sort of plans or goals or dreams around, you know, sharing this information with other people? Obviously you're already doing a lot of that online. Do you have anything you want to share with us about what you're hoping to do with that?
Thank you. Yes, so I've very recently launched a YouTube channel. So you
Mhm.
mentioned that at the beginning, but I had such a strong resistance to it. So for years and years, I
Wow.
just haven't been able to, I just haven't been able to go there. But I've recently started to upload some of the old videos that are at the moment just up in my Facebook group or the Facebook page, which is Fasting with Alice, if anyone's curious. But there's a lot of content on there that I think is very valuable, like stuff on B12, like stuff on protein, like
sure.
all the stuff that I've been talking to you about. A little bit cringeworthy for me to watch because it's some of the content's like 2 years old now, and I look back on it now and think, wow. But I'm putting it out there nonetheless. So do check out my YouTube channel. It's Fasting with Alice, and I will also be recording some new content because there's so much that I want to talk about that isn't necessarily
Yeah.
just this foundational stuff. I want to start going a bit deeper. And also, I have a really exciting community project happening at the moment with Alex Cousins. She's online as Living Mucus Free.
Okay.
And she's an amazing practitioner, and she's put together a community of healers and various experts. The community is called Utopia Rising, and we're setting up all sorts of different projects. So we have
Nice.
a retreat center in Bali that basically
Amazing.
as soon as this corona situation calms down is going to be open and ready to launch with like all the latest high-tech
Amazing.
detox and fasting gear. And we're going to hold all sorts of different retreats, dry fasting retreats, which I'm really passionate about. And then we're also looking to buy some land to create a more kind of a more permanent community,
Mhm.
which will also be in Bali. Did I mention I think I did mention, yeah.
Yeah.
And we're also looking at a few other places, like in the Philippines and a few other islands in Indonesia. So there'll be these community projects based
Fantastic.
around the kind of mucus-free concept,
Amazing.
with a beautiful kind of mucus-free restaurant at the heart of it, and people buying really lovely eco
Wow.
villas to live together in community and travel around the world and almost in a way create our own economy where we can live a very like back to nature type lifestyle in community. So that's something that I'm very, very passionate about, and we're also going to be creating some online products. There's a lot coming up in the pipeline.
So if people want to follow you and find out more about you, I know that your Instagram page at Fasting with Alice is a
Yeah.
good place to follow you.
Thank
Anywhere
you.
else? Is there a website or anything else?
The website is about to be launched.
Okay.
It should be ready very soon, but that's also going to be fastingwithalice.com.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess if anyone who's curious about fasting and wants to find out more, just head over to Facebook and search for Fasting with Alice. There's a page which has content that is available to share, so you can share with your friends. And then there's also a private group which is closed, so everything that happens in there stays in there. It's all confidential, and there's loads of videos in there, probably like 60 videos, all about everything you need to know to get started on the lifestyle. There's a detailed protocol, and it's all available for free. So you can go in there. There's a lovely community in there, and yeah, I'm very passionate about that group. For those of you who are ready to go a little bit deeper and want to kind of really commit and really like go further with this lifestyle, I'm also kind of co-running or managing the Living Mucus Free, which is Alex's paid members group, the online members group. And that is an amazing resource, and it's
Cool.
only $33 a month. And
Cool.
basically for that, you can get all of your questions answered right away. You can get lots of support. We do lots of group challenges together,
Nice.
and there are different levels, basically. Wherever you're at, whatever it is you need,
Excellent.
find me on social, and then we can connect and
Excellent.
go
And
from there.
we have a few, maybe a minute left. Any last piece of advice you would like to give to the world?
Last piece of advice. Just to trust the process, you know,
Nice.
trust your body, trust your intuition, trust the timing of your life, trust your gut instinct, and don't be super hard on yourself when you make mistakes or fall off the wagon. Like, try as much as you can to eliminate shame and guilt from your eating habits, from how you interact in life, because shame is such a deep, deep frequency. And if you eat something and afterwards you feel shameful, it's like, well, you haven't even enjoyed the thing. So just surrender to it. Accept, okay, at this moment in time, I want to eat this thing.
Great point. Sorry,
No, no worries. I didn't want to run out of time.
I think you're absolutely right there. Like I remember someone talking about that. Like they're not in a place where they want to give up X, Y, Z yet, and it's like just keep on enjoying it while you can.
Exactly. Enjoy where you're at in the process. If for now you still enjoy the odd falafel like I do, enjoy the odd falafel. Don't want reality to be different. Don't want it to be the future where you no longer want falafels. That day will come.
Thank
it's
you.
meant to come.
Yeah, thank you so much, Alice, for spending some time with us today in the Love Fruit podcast. And if you want to, everyone that's watching or listening, we really thank you for doing that. If you want
Thank
to
you.
share it with other people, please do so. We encourage that. And if you want to leave a comment or a reply, do that, and I'll try and get back to you. And go and follow Alice at Fasting with Alice on Instagram and other places
Thank you.
online.
Thank you for having
And
me.
yes, and we'll see you all in the next episode of the Love Fruit podcast.